Before we get started here, I'll introduce myself. So I'm Robert Ragland. I'm a junior here at SID, best college on campus, but I'm an economics major. And I'm currently the vice president of Rice Business Society, and I'm the training program director for the Rice Undergraduate Finance Club. And with that, I'll hand it over to our panelists. So I'll start with Jarret introducing himself, and then to Aerin, then Maryann, and then Rohit.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for taking the time to meet with us. I'm Jarret Mathwig. So I think I'm the only panelist here that didn't go to Rice as an undergrad. My experience is grad school only. So I got my master's and PhD at Rice in mechanical engineering. Basically, it was supposed to be as close to aerospace as Rice had at the time. So I probably have a very distinct career path from anything traditional, but looking forward to meeting with you guys, asking, and answering any questions you guys have. So nice to meet you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Aerin Smith, originally from Texas. Went to Rice, graduated in 2008. Brown College, the best college on campus. I am currently working at Citi Group, where I went straight after my career, the year of the Lehman failure, so very fun stuff. Was a poli-sci major from Rice, and we'll talk about that, but sometimes that's non-traditional sounding, but I think I had the best school to prepare me for it. So I'm looking forward to knowing more of you during the session.
Hi, I'm Maryann Keith, and I graduated in 2003. Lubbock College, also the best college. They're all the best colleges. And I majored in music, and I know we're here today for a panel about careers in finance. And, I've had quite the journey to get there, and I look forward to talking to everyone today and answering your questions about my career as a financial advisor.
Hey everyone, thanks for joining us. Rohit Padmanabhan. I was SID 2006, was a mathematical economics major at Rice, started down the chemistry path, so can definitely chat about that. Have worked in consulting and finance since graduation, and have lived in multiple cities. Was in Houston for a while, lived in New York City, and then currently in Nashville. So currently run a financial advisory practice here in Nashville, and excited to chat.
Great. Thank you for each of you giving your introductions. What we wanted to start with here today is we wanted to talk and go back to your guys' experience at Rice, reflect a little bit as to what at Rice has been most beneficial to you in your career path. And so to start with that, honestly, just tell us what have been some of the most formative experiences you've had at Rice that have helped you advance your career. And for this one, I'll start with Rohit, then we'll move to Maryann, then Aerin, then Jarret.
I get the tough one first. All right. Most formative experience at Rice. I don't think there was a single experience that led me to where I am, or was particularly formative. I think it was kind of the Rice experience generally. And I know that's a little bit of a generic answer, but to me, it was being around really smart people, being in a pretty open space that was open to conversation, open to being in different audiences at different times. I think you'll notice from the panelists that people had started in different backgrounds and different majors, and we all ended up in finance through different paths. So I think that speaks a lot about the typical Rice student, and that their interests are varied and kind of are all over the place in a good way. I think that was the most formative experience for me, was that you are encouraged to learn a lot early on. And to me, that's the biggest thing that anyone can do, regardless of whether you want to be in finance or somewhere else, is really soaking up as much as you can early on in your educational career, and then your financial career, or your professional career.
So for me, again, it's hard to pick. The big thing that helped me at Rice was just the diverse education. When I came in as a music student, I kind of grumbled about having to take all these different classes across different topics, but really what it did was it made me a more diverse learner, more diverse human, and made it so that I am able to converse and learn about just such a wide array of topics. And it's made it easier for me to pivot in my career.
For me, it was really just the center on leadership. I think, you're in a space, a lot of smart people, great resumes, all those things, right? But the things that's really going to move you, not just for other people, but also for yourself, is the leadership and leaning on that and finding your way through a dark room sometimes. And so I definitely did Leadership Rice at Rice, which was an amazing experience. And then also just like leadership for connecting with people and like making something, happen out of that relationship. But those are just skills that I think are going to carry you in your professional and your personal lives. And I was really happy that Rice emphasized that over, whatever grade you got on a certain paper under a tree. So that's positive.
Yeah, so I would say that the thing that really helped me the most at Rice was, say, the mentorship I got from the advisors that I ran into. So my advisor, he's since passed, but he was fantastic and really just guided you as a person and academically. And that was really, really helpful, especially because writing a PhD thesis is challenging and makes you question why you're doing it. Many times there's a lot of soul searching there. And Richard Tapia, who was the Noah Harding chair of the CAM department, he was also really, really just an absolutely fantastic person. And I mean, I invited both of these professors to my wedding. So, I mean, just great people, and were really to help you in anything that you needed. And I really found that to be a fantastic experience. And of course, everybody at Rice is smart, so that's always nice.
Great, thank you. I know I agree with all of you. I've made so many great relationships at Rice that have been really beneficial. It's one of the things I really appreciate. But expanding upon this point, what else, what resources do you have that you think underclassmen at Rice should take advantage of? What resources did you use throughout your time that you think would be were most beneficial to you? And I'll start with Maryann this time, then we'll move to Aerin, then Rohit, then Jarret, you'll close again.
So I had a slightly different path. I was using my resources primarily in the music school. And that's one resource that I encourage all students to use. Go to some concerts and just relax, because the music is beautiful. The students are so talented. But as far as the rest of the campus, I can't remember the name. What did we call the resident associates that lived with us in the colleges?
We call them RAs right now.
You do? Okay, we had a different name back in the Stone Ages when I was there, but I found them to be just such a great resource if I was struggling with, what courses to take for my electives, just if I just needed any sage wisdom from an adult. I think that's one resource that you might not think of outside of the traditional, career center route.
For me, it's going to be each other. Many of you might be joining and you didn't know as many people, or you met people within your college, and we all love our colleges, but I think you have to go beyond the hedges and, try to meet other people from different places, go have lunch somewhere different. It's amazing what crowdsourcing can do. I think one of the beautiful things about college is, like, while you're focused on graduating and getting a job and being successful and all these things, right? You already are successful. And what's going to really, really like push you forward is like believing that in yourself, and asking questions from each other as much as possible, figuring it out. This is a figuring it out space. This is a really unique opportunity to be with, 1,000+ people that are smart and are also figuring it out, and you have that room to be creative. I would just say each other. Who are you talking to? Who's your mentor? Why? What is that class? Did you like it, etc.? But like, don't do it for the purpose of some success that's like in the air somewhere. do it for you. And so that would be my top one.
Yeah, for me would be, Maryann touched on this a little bit earlier, but the diversity of classes and the ability to take them at Rice, not having a really strict mandatory class requirement, obviously different for electrical engineers, but really not having strict requirements allows you to explore more than I think other universities or even similar universities, but just like where you don't have the access, frankly. Quality of professors, size of classroom, and diversity of classes really allowed me to explore classes that I didn't know I'd be interested in, and I found out either that I was or I wasn't. And sometimes that's a really good thing to know what you're not interested in, just as much as finding out what you are. I was a chemistry major and a math economics major, and learned early on that I didn't like being in the labs by talking to professors and actually doing lab work over the summer. And to me, that drastically changed my path to where I knew that I wanted to be on the investment side, and stopped really following the chemistry side as much, right? And then once I knew that, I got to explore a variety of different, at the time, we didn't really have a finance major or finance really focus at all at Rice. So I got to explore different types of economics, from the health aspect, from the purely organizational standpoint, and obviously like from the financial standpoint, and trying to figure out where I liked the most, and also learn as much as I could during that period. So to me, it was really just access.
Yeah, so I agree with a lot of what everybody has said. I would add to that, I think Bahala is a great resource. But I mean, I say that kind of as a joke, but really being able to meet with your colleagues and your peers on also a personal level, I think is very helpful. Not just, hey, what are you doing in the classroom? How do you solve this problem? But I think Rice's best resource is one that's really untapped and not used near to the extent as it should be. And that's the network that you have at Rice, and from being a Rice alumni, and the connections. And there's so many great people that come out of Rice and they go off into the world and do great things. But I feel like Rice is a little bit very kind of independent. Whereas like always look at the Aggies, and man, Aggies annoy the heck out of me. But their alumni network is second to none. And I think Rice has a better alumni, say, quality, right? Definitely not the quantity, but it's the quality that matters. And so I would really encourage all of you to get to know the other people in your class, get to know people in other majors, get to know people in other disciplines, and that will serve you extremely well. I mean, that's something I push for hard, is growing the alumni network and getting owls to help other owls. But that's an untapped source of, superpowers that Rice has, is just sitting on.
Thanks, Jarret. And kind of to follow up on what you were just talking about, like in terms of the alumni network, do you have any advice for current students about how they can go about networking and getting to know actual Rice alumni, and how they should do that?
Yeah, well, I use LinkedIn a lot. I mean, there's times I'm just sitting there kind of, if I have like some downtime or I just want to zone out and do something else, I'll just sit there and just start connecting with other Rice alumni. I'd be like, hey man, fellow Al, love to connect. I'm a big believer that, just putting great people in a room, good things come out of it, but definitely nothing bad comes out of it. And so I really encourage all alumni to reach out to others. That's why I say, hey, please reach out to me. If you want an introduction to anyone I'm connected to, let me know, and email me, whatever. But just be, I think, more open-minded, and just be willing to, hey, who's sitting behind me in class, or who's sitting to the side of me that I've never spoken to? There's some people are introverts, but just say hi, introduce yourself, and you probably find you have more in common than you ever thought. But really just get to know more people. Step out of your comfort zone just a little bit and make an introduction, and just say hi, and how can I help? Yeah, it's as simple as that.
And I would just add to that, when you're reaching out to people, they might not be doing the exact role you see yourself doing, or you might not even know what they're doing. But they can still like point you in the right direction. So like, and you never also know like what part of their role was adapted. Like I started off in traditional sales and trading, and now I run content. My first year, I actually ended up on a team with another Rice alum, and we did something totally different on the same team. So, don't underestimate the power of like conversation and questions, because, you never know where someone can direct you. And again, like finding that stuff that you didn't even know was there, which is really exciting when that happens as well.
Another great resource is, sorry, Ro. Another great resource is the Sally portal. And over the years since it's come into existence, I've actually had several students and alumni reach out to me just to talk about my career. And I'm always more than happy to make time. So, if you want to talk to someone, I just encourage everyone on the call to go to LinkedIn or Sally portal and please reach out, because we all want to share our experience and help.
Yeah, kind of add to all of that, but I agree with what everyone said. And I think, we don't need to make a sales pitch for Rice. Everybody's already there, but they provide really, really good resources for students to connect with alumni. It doesn't have to be in your field. Sally portal is excellent, has gotten better certainly since the first couple of years. LinkedIn is great. The career services department is good. If you ask them to send you a list of emails of people that you genuinely want to get in touch with, they may find a secure way to be able to do so. I know I've done the reverse for trying to help students. The Rice externship program is awesome. I've hosted, it's got to be like 8 or 10 externs in the last 6 months probably, or last 8 months. And they ask really good questions. They find out about if certain career paths make sense, don't make sense. I think really just asking the university what resources exist and taking advantage of them is really underrated. And like Jarret was saying, I happen upon like fellow classmates or people that I definitely recognize from campus that are doing something similar to me, or where our paths cross now and we could have a relationship professionally, and like had no idea that would be the case 20, whatever it is, 10 years ago, 15 years ago. So definitely keep in touch with people, but get to know, whether they happen to be in your circle now. Like I think the Rice network is really strong, and people want to come back together, especially after being away from campus for a while, and ways to be able to work together with fellow alumni and stuff like that, I think is definitely a big factor.
Thank you. And I guess one thing I'd like to add here as well, through Rice Business Society, we host a lot of events where we invite back alumni. We had a JP Morgan investment banking panel a few weeks back where we had 5 alums that all work currently at JP Morgan talk about their experience at Rice and kind of what made them want to do investment banking. So I encourage everyone that's a student on this call to get involved with Rice Business Society and meet alumni that way, because that's one of our goals and mission as a club, is to connect students. But to shift gears a little bit and get to the actual finance side of this panel, I wanted to hear each of you guys talk about your background and like what role you do now and kind of what made you want to do that role and pursue this career in finance. And so I'll start with Rohit, then we'll move to Jarret, then Aerin, and then Maryann.
So I have an hour to describe this, right? Is that right? Yeah, I mean, I think everyone's path is going to be unique. So I think this will be a really cool section. But for me, I've always loved finance and investments. As a kid, I kind of knew that I would be in that sector, but I was a math and science guy through and through. So started out in chemistry, worked in chem labs, freshman and sophomore years, senior year of high school, and then freshman year and I think sophomore year as well. And went pretty far down that path at Rice, realized that lab work was not something that I was passionate about. And for me, it was really just about learning about that stuff. So I knew that I could continue doing that on the side and, professionally go down the finance path, which I really liked. So for me, it was trying to figure out, okay, what part of finance, what things exist, what are the kind of the branches from undergrad to first job to whatever else. And then where do I want to end up? And I think the where I wanted to end up was less important to me. Is I wanted to learn a lot on the front end, and then let that be the guide to where, the exact path that I took. So that's kind of why I chose not to go into investment banking. Was I didn't just having spoken to friends that had been through the experience before. It didn't seem like what I wanted. I wanted a broader access, or broader kind of like educational first couple of years in my profession. So I started out in consulting doing financial modeling, because to me that was similar to investment banking, but that was it was a really good way to get a background to be able to use that modeling experience to then do anything I wanted in finance. So that really led me to then, I got a job as an analyst on a private wealth, ultra high net worth team in Texas. And I chose to do that because I really love the investment side, and I got access to essentially analyze investment portfolios for really wealthy clients. So I got to look at every type of investment, every asset class, every type of investment, every fund, it was really interesting. I was doing all the hands-on portfolio work and all the tax planning. So to me, those first two decisions kind of led me to where I am now, but really because I was just trying to learn as much as possible. That way I could figure out where I wanted to be and then apply that knowledge somewhere. I knew that I wanted to run a company at some point. I liked the operational aspect of running a company. And to me, I made the shift from working with ultra high net worth clients to working with young professionals now, frankly, just because I wanted to kind of change how the industry works and give younger folks better access to good advice. So all of those were kind of latter decisions that really were built upon the initial goal, which was soak up as much info as I can, try to figure out, okay, how can I apply this and where do I really want to apply it?
All right, so a little about me. I'll keep it brief in the interest of time. So like I said, tried to do aerospace when I graduated in January of 2009, world financial crisis. So quickly had to learn how to pivot because aerospace industry wasn't hiring. I mean, they were firing. And so became a data scientist at a company there in Houston called Pros Revenue Management, where I managed Southwest Airlines and Hertz rental cars, the pricing and revenue models. And so but I became disenchanted with corporate America. And I'd always had a passion for also kind of for business and really wanted to help people. Pricing is like the dark side, right? When I'm pricing an airline ticket and a rental car, I'm trying to extract as much money out of you as I think you're willing to pay. That's actually the metric that's calculated. It's called willingness to pay. From little information I know, how much can I get out of you? And so I wanted to do a 180 and actually help people. And really, even in Rice, which is a fantastic institution, and this is nationwide, it's systemic, no one's taught on, once you go out into the real world, what to do with all that money that you're working so hard to make. Right? All you hear is an HR person tell you, oh, we have this thing, it's called the 401k, and do you want to participate, yes or no? But you're not told, what is it, why is it, what should I do with it? What are the pros and cons of it? What are my other options? Is there other stuff I can do? How are taxes affecting my, my portfolio on the, so all of this stuff. I mean, there's a million things. And so we're not taught any of that. So I really just wanted to teach people and help people and educate them on how to optimize the money that they're working so hard to get. And so that's why I do what I do. And yeah.
So I came to Citi I left Rice in 2008. Got into finance kind of by circumstances, talking to people about the things that I like to do. At Rice, I tried PR, but it wasn't like my passion. I ran a tutoring company that's now in Rice Village. So I had these things that I like to do, but didn't know what to actually do with them. Talking to someone advised that I did a program that got me to New York, basically spent time with a lot of banks. I did sales and trading simulations. So sales and trading is selling equities, credit, FX products for institutional investors. Is what I do now. I picked Citigroup because of the people. I kind of Rose's point about trying to learn as much as possible. We had a rotational analyst program that allows you to spend 1 year each on different desks, and you can go back to those desks full time, or you can go to something completely different. So since I really knew that I didn't know what I was doing, I was like, I want to go to the bank that gives me the most exposure. And I also just felt like the people really were excited about me. So that's what I did. 2008, Lehman crashed 2 weeks after I started. And so you learn very quickly what you don't know, but I also realized that everyone else didn't know what was going on either. And so that was kind of the start of my career really in content. I started off on a strategy desk, so providing FX strategy to clients. Then I did emerging market sales, but somehow I was still kind of like the strategist on the sales desk. And so, you know, my world was just kind of going to content. In 2010, FX Wire, which is a product that I co-founded at Citi. We were born. I was meant to write content, and from there, I just really learned how to run a product. I work with developers, design, you know, front end to back end in terms of running Wire and creating content. And so now I actually run content for all of our asset classes across our markets division. And what do I like about it? It's just, you know, content is what gives people access to be their best. Like I started with no finance knowledge, and content trained me into that and brought me into the conversation and brought opportunities into my life. And so I definitely love doing that for clients. I love doing that for, you know, younger people who are just trying to like figure out that space. And so largely through all of our digital platforms, with our chief one being Citi Velocity at Citi, my team provides contents, you know, whether it's education, whether it's trade ideas, we do it all and we just have fun with it.
So for my path, after I finished at Rice, I went on and did a master's at the Peabody Conservatory, and I was auditioning for major orchestras and working kind of all the side hustles you'd find a musician doing, you know, barista, waiting tables, bartender. And at a certain point, you know, I wanted to look for part-time work that was more stable during the day. And I actually started my career in finance, answering the phones and filing. So it's not glamorous. You know, when I was younger, I was embarrassed to tell people at alumni events that, you know, I'm a freelance musician and I, you know, answer the phone. And what I found as I wasn't getting the work I wanted as a musician, I found that the career of financial planning was very interesting. The business I worked for quickly noticed that I was much more educated than I stated on my resume. I actually had to dumb down my resume to get part-time jobs in my 20s. And, you know, from there, I started my education by getting all of my various FINRA series licenses. I took the Certified Financial Planner course. I got that designation, and I took it a step further, getting the Certified Investment Management Analyst designation. It's sort of like a CFA light, I would call it. And over the years, I've gone from just answering the phones to managing our staff, building an operational infrastructure, and meeting with clients, bringing on clients. And I've really enjoyed the journey, and I'm, you know, proud to say that I've done every job in the house, and I think it's contributed to the success of our financial planning practice.
Great. Thank you guys for all going and talking about your journey in finance. And what I think would be very helpful for our audience would be is if each of you could describe what a typical day looks like in your role and what exactly you do in your job. And so we'll start with Aerin, then we'll move to Maryann, then Jarret, and then Rohit.
So my world is 24 hours a day. I'm not 24 hours, but I have to stay plugged in. Down to the BBC alert that I get that something happened in Switzerland this morning, it can move markets. So I, as an analyst, and I'll say that because I know a lot of you are thinking of that route, I'd get in the office anywhere from 5:30 to 6:30, basically first in, last out, is usually the starting junior baseline, I'd say. I'm reading what's happening overnight. So what our traders, what our sales, whether that be client trends, what they're interested in topically, what they're trading, how prices are moving. And then I'm also interested in what's happening ahead. So for example, the first Friday of the month is the unemployment report. We get all excited. We're like, what's the number going to be? How's it going to move equities? Are we going to buy bonds, sell bonds, et cetera? Down to, you know, let's say there's a big speech from the president on infrastructure we might be thinking about. We are constantly thinking about how real-time world events impact financial investments. And we look at that through the lens of different clients, whether that be a hedge fund or the person managing your 401k or a major corporation. And so, you know, my typical day can start off with a very clear agenda and be turned completely upside down, depending on what's happening. But what we are doing is we are responding real time to real events, to data. We're jumping on the phone with clients and like finding solutions. My team, we're basically a media company. So we have, you know, I have a team of event producers who, you know, we do videos and shoot them live from the floor with trading and sales. I also have a team of written contributors who are actually writing the commentary and the insights to deliver to clients. And we really just, you know, we're there to meet whatever needs. In my specific role, I'm also setting the strategy. So I work with like the tech team to talk about, you know, what does our platforms look like? What are our tools? How are they working? Is it sticking? Is it not? You know, how can we support our internal teams to deliver our platform as well? So typical day is anything.
So I'm lucky I get to start my day a little later. So while Aerin is rolling into her desk, I'm usually doing my workout and I start working, you know, a little bit before 8. And I'll typically start off by first I see what do my clients need? What does my staff need from me so that they can take care of the clients? And, you know, my day after that consists of sort of one-off check-ins with clients, scheduled client meetings, as well as meetings with portfolio managers and you know, investment product reps, just to make sure that I am staying up to date on the latest. And a lot of things are seasonal. Right now it's tax season, so I'm making sure all of my clients have you know, made all of their retirement contributions. Right now, the bond market is not doing so well, so I'm harvesting losses in client portfolios in their fixed income. So part of my day definitely varies seasonally, but one thing I like is that no day is the same. There's something new every day. I learn something new every day, and that's one of the things that I love about the career of finance. You just never know what's going to happen when you sit down at your desk every morning.
Yeah. So yeah, similar to Maryann, except for I don't have a team. I'm still kind of doing it all myself. But so a lot of networking events, right? I'm connecting, I'm reaching out to clients, I'm reaching out to prospective clients, and you have scheduling meetings in advance, and then you also have the meetings that you have on the books, and going over, how are you tracking? How's everything going? What life events are coming up? And so the beauty is you get to know so many people, and you get to know them at a personal level, which a lot of people won't know. I mean, even their best friends, their neighbors won't know. And I mean, you get to know them even because medical conditions and things that are kept more private. I mean, you get to know these things. And so really, you really feel that you're a key asset to them, and you get to really help them because you're so entrenched in their life. And so every day is a little different because life happens and it throws different people curves every day. But I mean, that's what you're doing. You're always taking care of your clients that you have and looking for additional ones, getting referred. And yeah, of course, staying up to date with what the market's doing and coming up with good strategies to help everybody in the different stages of life. But yeah, it's fun. It's very rewarding.
Yeah, Maryann and Jarret said it pretty well. So we all do something fairly similar. So yeah, I probably start at 7 a.m. So I run a financial advisory practice for 25 to 40-year-olds. So I usually start the morning at 7 a.m. Looking at emails from the prior night. So we've got clients all over the country. So if I'm Central Time and somebody from the West Coast send me a 11 p.m. email their time, I'll usually get it in the morning. So I'm usually up pretty early at the desk, 6:30 or 7. But so the first thing is checking emails from clients, figuring out what people need. So we work with a limited but still decent number of clients. And when individuals or professionals are kind of young in their career, they've got a lot going on right there, thinking about houses and families and student loans and all these other things. So so my company, the goal for us is to essentially do all of someone's personal finances. We take care of everything for them. We're shopping for their mortgage rates. We're helping them. We don't sell products. We don't sell insurance or anything, but we go shop for them, figure out what products they do need. We run all the investments in-house. So really every day is a little bit different, but I'm usually on client calls for 4 to 5 hours a day with clients who just have something that came up. Like Maryann was saying, right now it's tax season. So we're helping our clients with all kinds of stuff, getting documents ready for their CPAs. I'm probably spending more time talking to CPAs right now than I am actual clients because we'd rather just talk directly to them so that the client doesn't have to get confused about all the things that we've done. We do all their tax strategy for them. So rather than the CPA telling us, we're really communicating all the things that we've done so that they can file appropriately. For the most part, we're watching markets I watch markets really closely throughout the day. We're looking at news. Honestly, like Aerin was saying, news moves markets very quickly. Most of our portfolios are long-term and more focused on financial planning than we are, individual day trading and short-term transactions. But the ability to take losses when markets are down big, or the ability to react or put cash to work. All of our clients' portfolios are totally different from one another. So making sure to be able to take advantage of an opportunity for one client that doesn't necessarily make sense for someone else. So it's really detail oriented, making sure that we know what's going on with every client all the time. It's really hands-on. Clients want us to do everything for them all the time, which definitely is a lot, but it's really rewarding. Like Jarret was saying, I think every time I have a call with a client, and we're fortunate, we don't take on a ton of clients and we don't market, so we don't really look for new clients unless they're referred by current ones. But it's really rewarding. You get off a call and very rarely am I not smiling after a call with a client, just excited that we got to walk them through something. I just got off of 3-hour-long Zooms with clients, all working through some difficulty, not knowing what their life is going to look like and trying to figure out, hey, how do we optimize cash for the next couple of years to make all these things happen for you? And solving these kind of puzzles is really rewarding for me, and I think really helpful for clients. So at the end of the day, it's fun, it's enjoyable, and I get to use kind of the analytical skills that I really love using. On the running business side, I spend a lot of evenings kind of running the company itself. So doing our books and our accounting, going through the regulatory work. So running a financial company requires a lot of regulatory filings and upkeep and data, and you get audited a lot. So making sure that things are in place all the time, making sure client records are really well kept. So there's a lot that goes into it, but again, the end product is really rewarding. So well worth it.
Thank you. These have all been great answers for this panel. Now we're going to shift gears and go right into the breakout rooms, and that's going to be Alexa that organizes that. So I'll pass that over to her, but thank you to each of our panelists.
Yes, thank you so much to our panelists, and Robert, you did a wonderful job moderating. It's been a really great session. I think everyone has touched on the power of the Rice Network and how there are so many people out there that are willing to help Rice students and alumni. And we've shared resources in the chat, and we'll be sharing those in the follow-up email. So we hope you're going to join us at a future upcoming Rice alumni event, either in person or virtually.